I Remember by the Art Bell. I remember as a little child in Atlanta not having much and wanting to be helpful to my family and the people around me. I remember being punished by my mom as a kid for hitting a girl who happened to be my first girlfriend. I remember as a kid growing up in various neighborhoods, playing in dirt, old thrown away mattresses, abandoned buildings, fire hydrants, stolen golf carts, and breaking into closed swimming pools. I remember always making the best out of what I had and not wanting to do bad things. I remember as a kid being punished by my mom for being brought home in a police car over stolen food stamps. I remember as a kid, my two siblings and I having to move in with our cousins in another city. I remember as a kid being proud of doing good in school until switching elementary schools and being held back. I remember as a kid, my two siblings and I moving back to Atlanta to live with our grandmother. I remember as a kid having a real friend. We played video games and hung out in our neighborhood. I remember my friend and I being approached by two random girls and offered intercourse. I declined out of fear and believed it to be suspicious. I remember never developing a close relationship with anyone other than my grandmother and a few friends through my life. I remember in middle school having my first experience with popularity and still being unsure of myself. I remember for the first time having strong feelings for my girlfriend. I was young and dumb, so I allowed the toxic kids around us to break our relationship with a rumor of her cheating. I remember struggling to hold conversations with girls and build a relationship with people. I remember being friends with the best looking girl in school and rejecting her kiss out of fear from being hurt. I remember as a preteen feeling inadequate and beginning to delve deep into escapism. I remember running away many times from random hoodlums trying to cause trouble. I even lost a friend once from doing so. I remember falling in love with architecture, mafia stories, sketching paper sculpting, shark biology, and character creation. I remember starting high school in the wrong grade and trying to focus on my work. I remember being surrounded by troublemakers and having to stay out the way of a gang in our school who would jump people during DAS. I was never touched. I remember riots in our high school and the school being on the news. I remember our school moving next door to an alternative school. I remember skipping the 11th grade and graduating on time. I remember failing technical college for architectural drafting. I remember being in my 20s trying to figure out my next move, not working and living with my grandmother. I remember having real friends over and we would hang out and play the game. This eventually became old and stopped happening. I remember being lost and again turning to video games to escape and find some happiness. It was here that I found online friends and grew a stronger passion for character creation. I remember going to Job Corps and once again being surrounded by trouble. This time I had to live with them. I was never touched and managed to graduate top of my class. I remember losing my mother during my time in Job Corps. I remember coming back home and not having a job. My grandmother made sure to not make me feel like I would ever be kicked out. I remember how good I felt hanging out with my online friends and creating characters, so I turned back to escapism. However, my friends would no longer approve of my various characters I would appear as online because the image I was portraying hurt the tough image they wanted our group to have. Remember creating a female character and being outcasted by the group. I remember that my grandmother expressed to me that she had cancer and would never get better, alluding to her dying. I remember not being able to process the thought of her not being in my life. I remember her making me a final birthday cake, teaching me how to cook my favorite meal, telling me that I would not need to depend on a woman to cook for me. She passed away days after. I remember wanting to make her proud and keep a level head, to find solid work and jump at any opportunity that was given. I remember my closest relatives allowing me to live in their homes. I remember feeling insulted when they spoke to me as if I was not doing enough. I understand that I was not in the position to look comfortable. However, you must understand that any given chance to make something happen, I would jump to it instantly. Do not mistake my calmness for laziness, for it is my intention to settle problems and bring peace.